Hello, Rockstars. Gargudon for GTABase here. Following a little hiatus, welcome back to the Rockstars On The Road podcast, our discussion-based show talking all things Rockstar Games. Today, for our 15th episode, me and returning guest and fellow GTA-based team member Yangy are going to be doing a retrospective look at a Rockstar classic, 2010's Red Dead Redemption. It's been a while since we last had a good discussion, so let's go back to the western border states and dive straight into it. So, first off, what were some of your favorite elements about Red Dead Redemption in terms of, among other factors, story, characters, and gameplay?
Yeah, I don't know. I think a big part of it was the world. I've never really been into westerns, but for some reason the first Red Dead Redemption really captivated me. I didn't even like buy it myself at first. I played it at my uncle's. He was like, "You've got to give this game a try. You've got to give this game a try." And as much as he's a bit of a wanker, he has a good taste in games.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I immediately kind of fell in love with it. I got home. I got all my friends in primary school at the time actually to play it with me, um, like on the online mode and such, and then we all came up with just dumb little mini games and stuff to play together. Taking over little camps and stuff around the place. I think one of the first social games I played online was a form of Red Dead Online, and look how that's turned out.
Yeah, yeah, Red Dead Online in the sequel is definitely quite in some ways, I don't know what to call it really, like
Very different, yeah.
a pretty popular online mode that just never had the same ambitions or plans as its counterpart of GTA Online, I suppose.
Yeah, Red
Uh,
Dead Redemption 1's multiplayer was more akin to the GTA 4 multiplayer, where you
yeah,
just
like
kind of went in a session. You didn't even have a character to create; you just played an existing character.
yeah, it
I
was more
remember
like
actually, if you had the Undead Nightmare DLC, you could play as like story characters like John and Abigail and such,
oh,
and
put
then
their
you
skins
could
on,
also play as
yeah.
like you could play as the zombie versions of their characters as well.
Yeah, it was more
Although
classic like PvP, just like chill like GTA 4.
yeah, I mean, there were sessions as well, because you could either go into a friendly or like a hardcore session,
Oh
and the
yeah?
friendly ones had no PvP enabled. It was all just sort of like you couldn't kill each other. So one of the things that I used to do with my friends was we'd go to that fort in Mexico. Oh, I can't remember the name of it.
El
With the big
Presidio, I believe it is.
yeah, I think so. With the cannons, and would ride up. Would try to ride towards the door as the other person shot at us with the cannon, and we get
Nice.
like blown off our horses and stuff. And the
Haha.
horses could die, but we
Oh
didn't. So it
yeah.
was just like it was a great way to just get ragdolled about. And then if you got through the gate, you won, and then you swapped places, and that took up literally hours of our time somehow.
I see. Now that
The
sounds
mind of a
fun.
child's easily amused.
Yeah, like classic kind of sandbox PvP, which although if I actually ever really did spend any time in this game's multiplayer, considering I did play it like a few years after it came out, I do remember some like doing that stuff in GTA 4, like you mentioned, just like driving around Liberty City, having fun with whoever you could find in the lobby, and yeah, some classic PvP and such.
Yeah, me and my friends used to parachute down towards people like out of nowhere. You needed, I think it was Gay Tony that you needed to be on the
Yeah,
multiplayer
Gay Tony had the
to use the
parachutes.
parachutes. Yeah, so we used to do that. We would just like jump down, like land next to someone, shoot them, and then drive off.
I
Kind of
see.
like leaving them like what the fuck, what happened? Where did they come from? Where did they go?
Yeah,
Where
oh,
did they come
fun.
from? Cotton Eye
Yeah,
Joe.
yeah, definitely. The old Rockstar multiplayers in general were great for that kind of more sandbox and classic PvP approach, I suppose. I wanted to, like I mentioned, the game itself, multiplayers aside, yeah, this was a landmark in Rockstar history. Certainly we went from the classic, like modern setting of GTA with cars and big guns to suddenly going 100 years back in time to horses instead of cars and much slower weapons during the
Yeah,
twilight of the West, which you may think was against all odds, but somehow worked incredibly well.
I mean there was what, like two cars. There's the car that you get a little ride in
Yeah.
towards the end, and then there's also the that turreted jeep that you get to ride. It's like the Warthog for Halo, where
Oh
you
yeah.
you ride around. I think you end up shooting a bunch of Native Americans that the Dutch
Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah.
did over to them. I think
I mean, There was some
Red Dead
vehicles.
Redemption, both games actually really touch on like how the American government just really screws over Native American people,
Absolutely.
and
There was
especially
definitely.
back then, it was quite ahead of, they were quite ahead of their time with it, because even in 2010 there weren't many like movies or anything that really portrayed the injustice that Native American people went through. It was just
Definitely
kind of
not.
like, oh, look at the cowboys, look at them fighting the Native Americans, and that's it. That's all that happened. There was no sort of commentary or anything that happened, but Rockstar with their classic sort of
No,
satire and their brush to talk about things in a
yeah,
little
there's
bit more of a blunt way. They really sort of touched on everything that happened, which I think is another thing that's quite good. Like it certainly helped me learn a lot back in the day as well.
that's definitely one of the things where Red Dead is also like very different is the fact that coming from GTA where everything is like a parody and everything is a sex joke and whatnot, to suddenly going to the much more serious, grounded tone of Red Dead is quite the step, but really works for a game like this. And you're definitely right about the whole Native American thing. Is that yeah, there's definitely like a social commentary element to both of these games, kind of like we saw in GTA San Andreas to some degree as well, which we talked about in a previous episode. Yeah, there's just so much to unravel at this game. Like the way it really did, like go against all odds, and Rockstar came out with something completely new, I suppose. And this could work. This could flop, but it worked incredibly well and made for one of the most iconic games of the tens.
I don't think there's been any other sort of real influential Western product since then as well either. It's not even just games. It's like
Definitely not to some degree.
if you think back, what are the biggest Western things that have came out? There was that Cowboys versus Aliens movie that
That's right.
bombed. Um, oh God,
But
I
yeah,
think
you're right. Like other than that, Westerns hadn't been cool for like what 40, 50 years since the time of John
I would
Wayne or
argue that
something.
I'd argue that they're still not cool. It's just Red Dead Redemption's an outlier,
Yeah.
like as a franchise.
Like everyone today that talks about outlaws or westerns or gunslingers, chances are they played Red Dead.
Yeah,
And it's that they're talking about. Yeah, I mean it even for a Western story, like that's what makes it stick out is that it's not your traditional Western story in the sense that yeah, it takes place at the twilight of the West, I
yeah.
suppose.
It's not like during its its glory days. It's back
No,
when it was ending.
yeah,
It
it's
really shows like a sort of cynical view towards the American government, the entire United States, the whole idea that everything was being set up, the pure genocide that happened towards Native American people,
yeah,
the culture
terrible.
that it viewed towards anybody who wanted to live separately from the government, as well as anybody who wanted to live
Yeah,
within it. All of the
it's
the varying
everything
opinions.
that
Yeah.
it's everything of the like the height of the West in like the 1870s and 1880s that's just on the way out, and now we're in 1911, and there's fractions of like no man's country left, like outlaw country, and then all that is just that's a backdrop. What is the main height of it is of course the story of one of the best protagonists in Rockstar history, John Marston, which is a very, I don't know what the right word is, like tragic story to some degree.
I would argue that while John is a tragic character, the most tragic one is Jack, because he had
Absolutely. Absolutely.
ambitions, he had everything, and then at the end of Red Dead Redemption, spoilers if you've somehow not played it in 14 goddamn years, but you know, he
Yeah.
ends up an outlaw just like his dad when he wanted to write books. He wanted to be. It was always
Yeah.
more scholarly. It was well read, well written.
There's even that mission just when they've all reunited. Jack says that maybe he even wants to work in government. And,
Yeah.
father doesn't necessarily approve of that, but if it's what he wants,
But
it's what he
the
wants.
cycle of violence really just brings them back
Yeah,
towards being an outlaw,
John,
and even that can be attributed to like something because of the government. Because if they had kept up their promise and let John live, he wouldn't have, harvested such a grudge towards the government. They'd have all lived their happy lives. Jack would have eventually, got a government job, and there would have been, less going on there. At the same time that, John's downfall was his own making by, going getting revenge on Micah and avenging Arthur and such. So was the death of Edgar Ross, because if he didn't pursue John Marston, Jack wouldn't have had a reason to go kill him.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it's a wild story. Like the ending, just the ending. Like when I first played that, I was in genuine shock. Like I did not think they had the balls to go for that. Like kill off the guy who I've been playing as, like the entirety of this game, and what happens now? I actually kind of stupidly thought, I remembered in the beginning that John gets shot by Bill, and they just stitched him up. I was like, are they gonna stitch up like 60 different bullet wounds? And I was like, no, this
The man's
motherfucker,
been turned into paste, and you're like,
this
they've got
motherfucker,
some tape. It'll be
yeah, this
fine.
motherfucker's dead. I was in genuine shock. And then yeah, we see Abigail and Jack bury John. We see the screen fade to black, and we see new gravestone and someone with the looks of John, but that's impossible. And then like, who's that? Oh, that's Jack. And like, what happens now?
Do
It
you
was
buy do you buy the conspiracies that John isn't Jack's real dad?
hmm, not really.
I,
Um,
I don't. Because
yeah,
people are like, oh, but look at Javier in the sequel. Look at
yeah,
look at fucking what's he called? Dutch in the sequel. He has the
yeah,
same beard, and it's like beards aren't genetic.
yeah. Like if
That's
Javier was
just
the
a style choice.
like if Javier was the father, Jack wouldn't be as white as he
Yeah,
is.
it wouldn't be as white and pale as he is for
Because they
one.
have the same mustache or beard. It's wild.
Yeah, it's like no, that like I could grow a mustache and a beard that looks like that. It doesn't mean Javier's my dad.
No, no. No, yeah, the ending itself was like nothing we've ever seen before. Totally like innovative for what an open world game ending could be. And the story itself throughout is, while it's not one of the longest Rockstar stories necessarily, it's only about, just under 60 story missions. It's definitely one of the best and the deepest, and it does everything it needs to do in that period of time.
Yeah, I think even then it done more than it needed to do because it touched on like even just like other random things, just like life out in the West. You had a few like missions that were just sort of chores and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
it had all of the strangers and freaks that had a variety of things going on. I mean, how many westerns done stuff based on the Mexican Revolution?
Probably none.
Like,
That's
but
that's
it went really above and beyond with all of that.
that's a perk of also it being set in the time it's set in, compared to like you say, so many other westerns. But no, there is throughout the story there is definitely the chapters. There's the beginning, just getting to the desert, having to find his foot in this land again. Getting acquainted with Bonnie and the other McFarlanes, and then there's I forget his name. Is it Nigel, that British magician, or who it is, who's like ripping people off? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Nigel West Dickens,
Yeah, that's the guy. And
Steve
then
Oil
there's
Salesman.
Irish, and who gets John across the border, and
Yeah, there's Irish and you save him from a guy called French and another one who's what's he called?
yeah,
Is he Dutch? Is it no? He's not Dutch. He's Portuguese, something
oh,
like
maybe.
that. Brazilian. Someone. There's another one that's got a name, and they reference another guy with another name. It's
Speaking of getting across the border, that moment when you first get across the San Luis River, get on a horse and start riding, and Far Away starts playing. That's like
oh
highlight of the
yeah.
game.
I have a cover of that on Apple Music, which is like a synthwave cover.
Oh yeah, this
It's
sounds
called.
real interesting.
I think it's by a band called Dead Man's Tale. I'm going to quickly have a look.
Yeah,
Far
this
away.
sounds intriguing.
It's
Um,
by Roundheads. Genuinely fantastic cover.
I'll
And
have to
it
check
just
that
really
out.
works with it. Yeah, no, I recommend. They've done a few ones. They've done some covers based on the songs from Undead Nightmare as well.
Oh, that sounds
I
really
think
cool.
think my favorite song from the game though has to be "Bury Me Not" on the Lone Prairie.
That's the one. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's from
which I
the
think only
towards the ending.
plays when you have low on it. Like
I,
it's not
I remember
like
that
it's
from
got the full
the.
music and stuff, but it's technically it's a cappella because it's just lyrics.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
the
still
one.
brilliant.
It
It's
plays
yeah.
during John's funeral, towards the end.
Was it the
Uh,
funeral? I thought it was when he's riding back down from killing.
it might be more than one. No, that's Compass, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, the
Um,
music in it's fantastic
the
regardless.
soundtrack was amazing. Yeah,
They only perfected that with the sequel because once again,
it was the first Rockstar game that really properly took advantage of cinematic music, I suppose. Like in the sense there
yeah,
would be music playing during the missions to, build suspense and everything. And that they got all these, different singer-songwriters and stuff to record a series of original songs for the game. Because we hadn't really seen that cinematic music before, where it had been in
yeah,
many other
there was
games.
CJ's song and
There was a few like cutscene things during like in San Andreas, like the crash theme and like there was a Grove Street theme and such. But other than that, like there would be nothing during missions. But here, like there's a big shootout to like yeah, Western acoustic guitar and Telecaster, which
yeah.
really helped build everything and like harmonica while riding in the sunset, which really yeah elevated everything. That's for sure. And know some of the original songs, Dead Man's Gun, one of my favorite,
Yeah.
end credits just
I
being,
think they have a cover of that song as well, Dead Man's Gun. I think that's just one of my favorites all
oh,
around.
yeah, like sitting there during the end credits, like what just happened just to that song, so peaceful yet tragic and devastating. And Compass, yeah, when Dutch is finally dead and you're riding back to Beach's Hope at last. Um, so many great original songs. That's for damn sure. But getting back to the story real quick, wrapping it, there's the Mexico chapter, which is quite the thing as well. It kind of deviates from the setting you've gotten used to, I suppose, but all works really well. And all with the purpose of of finding your former associates, Bill and Javier.
Part of me wishes that they'd kind of planned for them to make a Red Dead like 2 prequel back then, and they had more of the characters in mind. Because I want to know what happens with Sadie. I want to know what happens with Charles.
That's the thing,
I
yeah,
know some stuff likes mysteries and that, but oh no, I just want it all answered.
definitely. I mean, we can only hope that they got the happy endings they deserved. That Sadie moved to South America where it was, and yeah, maybe got remarried
Imagine,
or something.
yeah, imagine seeing Sadie like, fight alongside the revolutionaries in Mexico.
That could be quite the thing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would even just be like a fantastic spin-off game. Like if, we
Absolutely.
were getting like how we had Undead Nightmare, we could have had, I don't know, the
Yeah.
Mex Undead Nightmare and the Mexican Dream.
Yeah. I mean, no, the Mexico chapter there is definitely yeah more of there is definitely a lot of just getting your way to finding your enemies there, I suppose. Then you get involved with what is his name? Captain DeSanta, I believe, who screws over John, and then there's Abraham Reyes, the rebel leader, and you get caught in a lot of fun things, shootouts and stuff. And you
Yeah,
also down in Mexico meet what is his name? Walton Ricketts, Landon Ricketts.
London
That's the
Rickets.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah, the legendary gunslinger. He is in terms of like spin-off games and such. If you were to do a sequel set during the
I've
height of
heard a
the
lot of
West,
people say that.
yeah,
Yeah, they
you
want
have to
Landon
have a
Rickets. Yeah,
young Landon in there. Absolutely. But no, the Mexican chapter there is definitely interesting. What's interesting, also taking what we know now into consideration, is the Bill and Javier portrayed there, and the sense that we don't really get to know a whole lot about them, but
yeah, they were
we
just
just know
kind
we have to
of
kill them.
yeah, they were just kind of, I wouldn't say faithless, but they were just. You heard a little bit about them. Bill was a bit
Yeah,
dumb.
I mean,
Javier went mad when Dutch went mad, stuff like
yeah,
that. But I think
I think what's pretty,
their
what's
characterization in two really helped round them out, even if it does feel a little bit inconsistent to what we were told about them. I think
yeah,
it still makes them feel like much better characters.
I think the build portrayed in this game has definitely gone more nuts than we ever saw him in 2. Like
Yeah.
those 12 years were not kind to him, and Javier, from what I remember, is
Especially his look, like, oh my god,
yeah.
he's scarred,
What?
he's lost so much weight, and he
The
doesn't look
years did not
healthy.
treat him kindly. But no, I always got the impression, even in this game, that Javier is like, also from what I remember, you get the choice of either killing or sparing him, which further proves that even portrayed in Red Dead 2, Javier is conflicted. Like,
Yeah.
yes, he ends up siding with Dutch and
Like
and
they
Mike
kill him
and those
anyway,
guys.
don't they? The
Yeah, but even he's conflicted toward throughout. Like, he doesn't fully believe in Dutch going crazy, but it's there. His loyalties are, and he's a loyal soldier. And from what
yeah.
how I remember John and Javier's encounters in this game, it's like, yeah, Javier doesn't necessarily have any real grudges against John, but John is tasked with hunting down his former friend.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he even tells him it isn't personal, like it's for his family and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
But
And
Javier
then
was one of the people that left John for dead, turned his guns on John and Arthur.
that's it. Yeah, during the train heist, the infamous train heist.
Yeah.
Um, and that's it. Then we get back to West Elizabeth. It's time to really get involved with the Federal Bureau, and those are probably some of the more fun missions of the game, taking to tall trees, gorgeous landscapes, and then the whole Native American thing comes into, like you mentioned, into play, and then you do
Yeah, and
that.
Dutch manipulating them.
You kill Dutch. Very cinematic, thoughtful moment. Where Dutch warns him, doesn't matter if you do that bidding now, they'll still come
They'll
after
always
you.
find another monster, yeah.
Yeah. So in the end, Dutch and John make amends to some degree, and then you know, for but a few minutes, but a few days, months, whatever, John gets to be with his family again, and then we all know how it ends. Yeah.
That little happy ending when John's with his family is a great time to stop playing the game.
Yeah. You just
Pretend nothing happens.
absolutely. Yeah, and it's there, I suppose, in like Western cliche Western tone that, yeah, it's there. The revenge story comes into play, of course. There's even one of the first missions, if you remember that. Jack tells John about a book he's been reading about a son hunting down the man who killed his father. Which,
That's yeah, very on the nose foreshadowing. But
yeah, definitely. I didn't pay attention to anything, of course, but yeah, we all know how it ends, and it ends on a very, I don't even know what the word is. Like,
I would call it a sour note. The revenge is
beautifully
perhaps bittersweet,
tragic
but
tone,
yeah,
or bittersweet tone, I suppose.
like you're glad you finally got your
Revenge. Even if
revenge, but
Jack knows that this might set him down a path of
I feel
setting
like there's
aside
also a
everything he
sense
ever
there's
wanted.
a sense for Jack that it's a bit too late for him to do what he wanted to do. It's just he's kind of
Yeah.
forced into that life. At least he certainly feels that way, you know.
Like it's bittersweet in the way that Jack has now become everything John wanted him to never become, the outlaw, the gunslinger. But yeah, the Marston family are universally cursed, I suppose. But no, that's the story itself, great, just a great story, so many great characters that up build further upon, really, in the prequel sequel, and then when you have that in mind, their characters in this game makes much more sense, because in the end, also, like, this game centers around the Marston family, and that's who it really focuses on developing it, and rightfully so. I thought we could also just quickly talk about, you mentioned it a little bit, like the Strangers and Freaks missions, like the open world, the remaining open world and gameplay, which definitely was introduced like elements of the world we later see in GTA 5, like that really diverse, dynamic world with all sorts of stuff in it, from hunting to random events to all these interesting locations.
I'll just remind myself of what the Stranger Things freaks are, because I feel like I'm getting some from Red Dead 2 and Red Dead Undead Nightmare mixed up with it.
Hmm. I remember a few of them. I think there were 18 or such in total, and there was the flying machine was in this game. The guy trying to invent a flying machine, which you could find like an Easter egg to in two, I believe it was. And then there was, the Strange Man, of course, and
The Strange Man's such a great one, because I like how it builds that sort of. I mean, I was on that podcast with you before about the
I
sort of
remember that,
mystical
yeah,
and the fantastical element of the world,
yeah,
and having the idea
so
that this guy
creepy,
is literally Satan, just
yeah,
having a personal chat with you. It makes you feel like a little bit more important than just one person in the world. Like this fucking proper spooky bastard's got a plan for you, you know?
yeah. It's wild. Then there was also, I remember the names of some of them. There was the cannibal dude as well, I believe. There was like the lights, camera, action. There was a few of them. I don't really remember them that well. I'm going to be honest.
I feel like the Strangers and Freaks are something that they've built on with each game, and I feel like they really they done a really good job with them in Undead Nightmare. Like, you wanted the guy that wanted like the different types of zombies to test on. You wanted the people that were lost like around the Fort Mercer.
Yeah,
Then, of course, there's the iconic Sasquatch hunting one where you're tricked into hunting down the last of species into extinction. You think that they eat babies, but no, they're just a peaceful berry-eating nation. I think that's a very good metaphor for a lot of different things that happened in real life back then, especially, during the West, people tricked into hunting down people that were villainized and turned into monsters compared to who they were
yeah. Only
realistically.
to realize that they are just human after all.
Yeah. Or, in this case, large,
Hmm. I
hairy
suppose so.
things.
Yeah. Yeah, in addition to the strangers, there was just a wide array of very dynamic activities like the hunting challenges, which they get a bit tedious at points, like in the sense that when I'm looking for an animal, it spawns absolutely nowhere, but when I'm not, it spawns fucking everywhere. And then there
That
were the
happens so often.
so
Oh
what?
my
It
god.
almost like the game reads my mind. Like it knows I'm looking for these motherfuckers now, so it's gonna make it very hard for me.
It's the same with flowers, and there's
Yeah, I
a
remember
bug
that
that
as well.
happens in Undead Nightmare, where if you've got like the invincibility on, the heads and stuff will disappear for all the zombies, and they'll all also become invincible. Similar bugs happen in Red Dead one-way cheats and stuff where they just don't work. But yeah,
Otherwise, I remember just the world itself. It's very certainly having a vibe and tone to it. Like riding around the deserts of New Austin as the sun sets, just really, yeah, it made you feel like a proper gunslinger. And
yeah,
then
at
riding
times as well,
through,
like it felt like barren and empty, but not like in the way that
no, it felt
you'd
very
associate
peaceful.
with, yeah, feel barren and empty. It doesn't
Yeah,
like it's like loneliness, but it's like on purpose. There's
yeah.
like a level of like, oh yeah, it's meant to be like empty like this. You're meant to be like, oh,
Like you're just
like that.
riding peacefully to the sun setting with some harmonica in the background, and wow, loved it. And then going through all the small little settlements and towns, Armadillo, Escalera, and all those little places, riding up
I do
to.
very much miss the Mexican towns.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, there was some glitches in RDR2, most if not all that have been patched up by now, where you could explore some of it and it looks the same, like the Ojo
Yeah,
del
that was
Diablo and
a
El
very polished
Presidio,
game.
and of course there are a lot of the settlements which look are empty still, but no, it would have been so fun to, yeah, explore Mexico in HD as well.
Yeah, I think that's like, I get that, New Austin and all of that was not really planned originally and then added later on. But I think I kind of wish they really spent a little bit extra time
Yeah, maybe throwing in
getting all
Mexico
that in.
for old time's sake.
We could have even had like more context about like the war building up and such. I know technically John doesn't go to Mexico until he, canonically goes to Mexico, but he says the same thing about New Austin, so
I suppose so. Yeah. No. Yeah. It was definitely a very ambient, very dynamic world, which definitely set the tone for what we see in later Rockstar titles. And that kind of takes us into in what ways do you feel like this game further evolved Rockstar's catalog and open world experience and maybe even open world gaming overall? And how's the
it
game's legacy
certainly.
today?
I feel like in a way it matured the storytelling. It still does the whole thing where every character says, you know, obtusely grotesque stuff about sex or their
Of
body parts
course.
or whatever.
I
Like
mean,
there's a level of like
there are direct
sleaze.
sex scenes in this game, and
Yeah, there's like a level of
titties
sleaze
and
to every
everything.
character
Yeah,
where they drop fuck every other sentence
there's
compared
definitely
to
like some of the still
Red Dead 2 where
R-rated
it's
stuff in
glistening to
there,
the moon. Yeah,
but in a
I
more
feel like it was before Rockstar grew up and they were like, we don't need to do all of this to
yeah.
be like edgy. We don't need to do all of this to make the point that we're trying to make. But I think it was a start of them realizing that because after Red Dead launched, the next game was GTA 5, and then it was Red Dead 2. And I think with each game, it just got a little bit less on the nose about the like making characters seem like sleazy and such. It's got a way. I don't know how to say it other than they've built on their storytelling skills and like leaning more into emotions and I would even call it show don't tell because technically, by having characters drop all these words fucking every other sentence,
Yeah,
it is showing, but it's showing a little less subtly.
yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it did perhaps also in terms of the more mature storytelling, like it also came off of the its predecessor, like GTA 4, I suppose,
Yeah,
which even
that was another one that was
for
like a
that
drastic
franchise
opposite.
took a very drastic turn with a much more serious and mature tone to it.
I don't think
Um,
that works too much with GTA. I think GTA being really dark and gritty is a little bit like
yeah,
it takes a little bit of the fun. I know GTA 4 still had
there's
the
different
fun of it
take.
from the story,
There's
but
many
yeah.
different opinions on that, and I mean,
I
I'm
prefer
just
my GTA to be a little bit darker, but like a little bit more lighthearted. I think you need to have a balance.
I
And
think just
GTA
with
4's balance was like a very cynical
I mean,
look on
I just have
everything.
so
Like
much
GTA 5
nostalgia
cynical, but yeah.
with GTA 4 that like even if I wanted to, you can't really get me to criticize it like that. It was perfect. Like Homelander, it was perfect down to the last detail. Yeah, it definitely works more naturally in a game like Red Dead. That's for sure. Overall, this game was just brilliant. Did so much. And in terms of how let's talk about that for a second. Did it to any degree evolve open world gaming overall in the sense that, Rockstar have always set the standards for open world gaming and everybody tries to follow. Was there anything in this that like anybody tried to replicate?
Um, I guess in a way, like open world games were never. You had your GTA, you had your Saints Row. Not many other studios had really tried an open world crime game. And even then, not really many other studios still do. You've got Ubisoft, perhaps, and then that's
Yeah, there's
probably
like
about the
the
best I can think. There's APB Reloaded.
I
We all know how
think
that went.
one thing this game did, both for Rockstar's own catalog and then that would start popping up in games afterwards, is that really diverse open world with wildlife and like
Yeah,
nature being against you.
that's true, actually. Yeah, because we
Yeah,
got wildlife in GTA 5 after that, and then the
we did.
only like other studio I can think of that has wildlife in their open games is Far Cry, and
I was just about to
aside from
say
that, I
that
wouldn't
it
really
was
call them.
slowly after this in 2012 that Far Cry was really put on the map with the legendary Far Cry 3, in which
Yeah,
hunting like that is a crucial part of the game. We also started seeing it and yeah, some other Ubisoft titles, that wildlife and hunting aspect. And I'm sure that there were some other franchises and stuff as well where that element was now introduced.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Assassin's Creed as well, but even then, I think
Yeah,
when you see other
AC3,
open world
Black
games,
Flag.
they're usually just like big checklists that you don't really
I suppose so, yeah, because up till this point, you hadn't really had
feel at home in.
an open world like that, which wasn't just about the people in it, and but suddenly had this new level of realism with, yeah, any second, like a snake can bite you, or a mountain lion can come out of the bush and attack you.
Yeah,
Especially out in those lands, like it would be make no sense not to have it.
yeah. I think even if other games done it, I think Red Dead probably made it like better. You know, like I think there was nothing
Definitely,
that was done before that if it had been done before wasn't at least somewhat improved on.
definitely
Which I
not.
suppose just generally what you want when a new game comes out overall. Like you want every game to improve on and all of these other similar games because that's
Of
you know
course,
that's how you get better
like I've
games for everyone. You know.
like I've said in previous episodes, like Rockstar for a long time, if I mean, I guess they will reclaim that title once GTA 6 comes out, is that, they've always set the standards for open world games, and the only standards to beat are their own. And this game, yeah, just took everything that GTA had done well up till this point, basically translated it to Western, and introduced, yeah, that new open world element of a really dynamic world filled with wildlife and all sorts of weird people you don't want to mess with. And then we that some of that came in GTA 5 in a modern setting, worked brilliantly, and such and such. I suppose this game also introduced the shooting mechanics that we've been familiar with Rockstar for a while.
Yeah, with the Dead Eye and such. I mean, we
Yeah,
had stuff like that in, you know, it was in Hitman Absolution,
I never
and
played Hitman.
but that all came after, didn't it? So
I suppose so, but that just really, especially coming off of GTA 4, uh, which was a mess on console, like the really hard lock on, going to this like really smooth
yeah,
system was just brilliant, and that was perfected and remained unbeaten in Max Payne 3, and then it came to GTA 5, and is what we've stuck with since.
yeah. I gotta say, like, it's oh my god, especially when you get the classic GTA's with their lock-on system, where it's like a big circle and like it triangles onto things. I hate that. This might be really controversial, but I find it really jarring. But I also find the free aim to just be clunky to use. I
I
still
suppose
find that
so.
with some of the modern GTA's, like I think the free aim's a bit clunky, so I don't really
Yeah,
enjoy it. Apart from maybe in Red Dead Redemption 2, but that's because the higher tiered like bounties and moonshiner missions required you to do stuff in free aim. I think
I suppose
those
so.
were
Yeah.
a bit more bearable, but
Now the
I think
the the
generally speaking, the free aim's never been the most fun.
the best, like I said, Max Payne 3 perfected these mechanics, and in terms of free aim, like if you don't play that story, that game with free aim, you're not doing it right. Finally, I guess we could also, if we haven't covered it a bit already, the game's legacy today, like it's definitely one of those games, like so many other Rockstar titles, that has a place in video game history. That's for damn
Yeah,
sure.
they've done so much like iconic stuff that people like still hold on to this day. Like they gave John that one haircut, and people love that haircut apparently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe I've even had it myself for a bit.
Yeah, I think I did too. I don't know if my profile picture or on Zoom will show up here, but I'm currently rocking the mullet, so
I see.
not quite John's haircut, but
No, yeah, no. That
not
they created not only an iconic game, but I created another Western icon in terms of
yeah.
also mastering the Western genre. And
Unfortunately, a Western icon that a lot of people who aren't gamers and dismiss games as like a narrative
I was just about to say that. Yeah,
format will
it's
miss out
it's
on.
it's it's not John Wayne. It's not Clint Eastwood, who everyone knows. But if you're a true OG, you'll know who my boy John is. And I mean this.
John asterisk not Wayne.
this may sound hot, but I mean, as many like fangirls and stuff as Arthur Morgan has, I mean, John is more iconic. He just is.
I think yeah, John's probably a more iconic character. Although I've had I have a friend that's not really into games at all, and they sent me a TikTok is something that Arthur said. I can't remember which one of his cutscenes it was, but they were like, "Who is this himbo? I love him." I was like, "Oh, that's Arthur. This is why you need to play Red Dead."
Yeah, I
I
see.
think Arthur's probably a really good way to bring people into the series.
He definitely is, but and I mean, that may come also to someone who like got into Red Dead before Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
And therefore I have a softer spot for John. That's very likely.
I
Um,
think, yeah, I mean, obviously I played, I was talking about playing Red Dead 1 in primary school, which, I
yeah,
left primary school in 2012, so obviously I played 1 first, but I think I preferred Arthur. I think John's maybe more iconic. I think Arthur is still a better rounded character.
mm,
There's the old bachelor's degree in performance coming out a bit there, but I think Arthur's a well-rounded character and a little bit better performed.
maybe
John's performance is a lot better in Red Dead 2, though. You can really see that Rob's acting skills improved. I think
for
in Red
sure.
Dead 1, it always sounds like he's shouting, but not quite shouting.
Yeah, it just has that.
Where,
Rob just has that iconic like rasp as
yeah,
opposed to his voice that yeah, it makes John go full circle.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think you can really see the like improvements on his
I
acting
suppose
skills
so. I've never
because,
really paid attention to it.
especially because Red Dead 2 has more performance capture than voice acting.
Yeah, I suppose so. I'll have to keep that in mind next time I play. But nah, overall, yeah, this game, like I said, like so many other titles, is just one of those legendary games that every gamer knows, even if they never played it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it set the standards for a long period of time, both for Rockstar and other games that would come in that period of time afterwards in the early
I mean,
10s.
if the characters weren't iconic, we wouldn't be seeing people recreating them in other games like Saints Row, The Sims,
Definitely not.
Hero Forge. Anything with a character creator. You wouldn't have John Marston in Baldur's Gate 3 if John Marston wasn't an iconic character.
Definitely not. If anything, like I want to say that I mean, when Red Dead 2 came out, the Red Dead 2 and this game almost kind of became one. Like they're almost one and the same.
Yeah,
So like the legacy that Red Dead 2 has is the same one this has, even because there's no doubt Red Dead 2 is more popular on its own, but
I think it deserves that.
yeah, but that this game is such a key part of why that came to be and the way the two games are connected that they're almost one in the
That's the
same.
thing, yeah. You can never have the sequel that's more popular without the original one being there. I'm thinking
No.
Empire Strikes Back, Halo 2,
Yeah, I suppose
Saints
so.
Row
It's just
2.
the fact I remember some people saying that after they completed Red Dead 2, they said that this one almost feels like a mere DLC to the second one. Like just in that sense that this isn't just like a prequel, sequel, whatever, but it's really like almost one and the same thing. And makes
A
you think if
DLC with slightly jankier movement mechanics.
I
That's one
suppose
thing
so.
that I've always felt aged really poorly. Going back to Red Dead 1 and trying to like walk around something and not bump into stuff or like
There might be
automatically
something to that. Yeah, it
freeze
was
or whatever.
very stiff. Is that the right
Yeah.
word? Also, the that makes me think of course, you get like a millimeter into water and you're suddenly just dead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking it's like the mission. It might have been an Undead Nightmare one where you have to go to that place that's run by the nuns, the big convent, and you have to climb up some crates and stuff.
Yeah.
And trying to get to those crates to climb them up without aiming your gun to slow yourself down and do like the sort of precision walking, nightmare, impossible. Honestly, like it's controller throwing stuff.
Man,
It is frustrating to say the
it
least.
sounds. I suppose it just also made me think like this game was ever to get a remaster. Is that something you think likely? Because
I did think it likely, and then we got the re-releases and
Yeah, that's
all
right.
but officially confirmed console release. Not console, PC release, and that's just sort of like hammered in that it's not going to happen. You know, it's
Suppose so. It was just in the sense of like what I mentioned, like the two games almost being one and the same, in the sense that, I mean, if you wanted to do a remaster of this, you basically have the foundation. If you wanted to do it like Super HD, like on the level of two, uh, really just touch up
Red
some
Dead
of those
1 and 2's
areas.
engines. The only thing that you'd need to do is you'd need to give Red Dead 2 a little bit more of a parkour clamber mechanic, because you do have that in Red Dead 1 where your character has to like
That's
shimmy along edges and stuff, which was in GTA 4 as well.
I
I don't
remember
know why
that.
they've
Yeah,
just kind of stopped doing that in the games. So you can't
that's right.
like
I
climb up
remember
the
that.
edges and
Yeah,
shimmy.
I remember that.
You know, I
But
love a
no,
good shimmy. What happened to my shimmying?
yeah, like it would basically just be like taking a portion of the existing map of two, touching up some of these areas like Tall Trees, Steve's Landing, parts of Mexico and stuff, and you basically have your map. Like,
Yeah.
so I suppose from a technical
There's
standpoint, it could be done.
There's a slight issue in that, obviously, where Tall
Oh yeah,
Trees is and such as the dam's meant to have burst and the river's flowing much more violently now. You have to find a way to like whether you're going to do that and then just put a new bridge there, or if you're just going to keep the classic dam there and just pretend it never actually burst and stuff, and the world's just always been connected.
yeah, that would have to be. I want to say for continuity, break the dam. So shut.
And then how do you get to the new area of the map, or the classic area, I guess? But the
Yeah,
Red
just
Dead 2 area.
just like the southern West Elizabeth and New Austin and Mexico. So yeah, you're right. I don't know. I don't think remastering anything is on the top of Rockstar's list right now. As I still want my GTA 4 remaster, but there's hope down the line. Finally, you mentioned it. Continuing that, I suppose we could also talk a little bit about Undead Nightmare, of course. What were some of your favorite elements about that story
What we
expansion?
need to talk about Undead Nightmare is talk about the absolute cancelable offense of how you've never played it.
Oh yeah, that one. I was kind of hoping
So,
that
what's
that
happening
you.
here?
I was kind of hoping that you would smoothly just forget that
Nope.
and
We need to talk about the fact that you haven't
yeah.
played that.
I think
Truly.
yeah, I have no excuse other than I just never got around to it.
I
It will
want
have
I
to be on the
want
list.
I want a Twitter apology written in your phone notes app for
I'll
that.
get to my notes right now. No,
Because that
I will
is
definitely get around to it. I think end of this year, as soon as I have the opportunity to get it done at last. But yeah, this is where you go into solo territory for a bit, I suppose. Just what were some of the coolest things about that?
honestly just the fact that they took two like iconic genres that were maybe starting to get a little bit outplayed. Okay, right. Well, we'll say westerns had been outplayed for a while, but the zombies in 2010, that was like the start of the downfall of them. I guess it was 2011, wasn't it? And then they just kind of mashed them together. Like, what if zombies? A good note on that was 2010 was the year that The Walking Dead started, right?
Oh
Which was
yeah,
at times biggest show on television, so they definitely rode off that hype a bit. But much like The Walking Dead, you will see that the characters never say the word zombie, and that's because the word zombie hadn't actually really been coined yet. In The Walking Dead, George Romero was never born. He never took off the Night of the Living Dead. They never said zombies because of that. In
yeah.
terms of Red Dead Redemption, even if he is born in that universe, he just chronologically wouldn't have been by that time. So there was just the nice little thing of them just never saying zombies while you play
Nice little
Undead
continuity,
Nightmare,
yeah.
which it just really goes to show like Rockstar's level of detail when building their worlds.
I suppose.
Genuinely, it's such a small thing that I don't see anybody talking about, but it's such a I wouldn't even call it an impressive detail because, like, it's like if you know what you're talking about, yeah, it's fine. It's not really that impressive, but it's a
Yeah.
thoughtful detail, we'll say.
Of course. Like, what I can objectively talk about my knowledge, I suppose, is one thing it did was kind of introduce that alternate reality element that we saw in some games, like from that point out.
Yeah, like Far Cry Blood Dragon.
Blood Dragon, yeah, the
or the
Assassin's
New
Creed
Dawn
3,
one.
the Tyranny of King Washington as well. If you know that one.
I don't know that one. That sounds wild.
That's like for the third one, it's if you remember the Pieces of Eden. Basically, Connor and George Washington are projected this like alternate vision in a world where George Washington, yeah, goes insane and becomes the king of the United States, and Connor gets all these cool like Native American spiritual powers. Like he can turn himself into an eagle and a bear and a wolf and
Oh, that's
stuff.
quite cool.
Yeah, that was actually quite cool. You're right, Blood Dragon, which I played not too long ago. Finally,
I feel like, yeah, when it comes to alternate realities, Ubisoft do a really good job at that.
they do. They've kind of stopped doing it, but
Obviously, I'm
used to do it
literally
well.
playing it as we speak, but Starfield technically has it because it's a game set in the multiverse, and you go through, and then some, like all of the New Game Plus iterations, you go into are like a different universe. Spoilers.
Interesting.
You know, you go into a different universe, and like usually it's the same thing you can play through, but every now and again you'll get a different reality, like one of which where everybody that you meet is a variation of you.
Freaky.
I quite like that, you know, just playing with the rules of like universes and just breaking things up a bit. Do a little bit of a good what if, you know. I mean, the very Marvel show What If is a fantastic example. People love what if type shows. Or
Yeah.
I watched it recently. It was the Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy.
I've wanted to watch that actually.
It's, you know,
I was thinking of watching
it's
that.
a dumb Lego kids movie, but it's a little bit of a fun idea. And I'm playing with like, you know, little references to
Now,
not just Star Wars but the community and such.
some of those Disney Plus like Lego originals have actually not been
They're
all bad.
surprisingly good, yeah.
Like the holiday special and such. They haven't been all bad actually.
They're dumb fun, and some
Yeah.
people hate dumb fun. Some people are like, "Oh, just
Nah.
take the universe seriously. Don't assassinate my characters." This, that. The other."
It can
like
work.
a little bit of dumb fun. I think, you know, if you just want to take the piss
Yeah.
a little bit and break
I mean-
the rules,
I mean,
you
it-
should be able to.
If anything, Rebuild the Galaxy actually like acknowledging Darth Jar Jar is enough of a selling point.
Yeah. That was one of the best, but there was a few other ones, other characters that were
I see.
referenced.
Nah,
Yeah,
we'll have to check that out. But no, yeah, I think overall, in general, yeah, to some point, this did kind of birth the idea of that alternate reality DLC, which we would see a few more of in the years to come. And like you said, nice continuity, nice unthinkable way almost to fuse two genres together. And on that note, I think I will not say any more before I have gotten to play it myself. I will, as soon as I'm back home,
Yeah.
I'll get on my Xbox and just find it backwards compatible. Like
once
$5
again,
or
yeah,
something.
with the way that, you know, Red Dead Redemption parodies like American culture and satirizes, you know, especially the attitude towards different communities back then. You have, you know, all the different characters making theories, and some people are like, oh, it was the Jews, and other ones were like, oh, it was the gays, and then other ones are like, oh my god, no,
Yeah.
it was black people, it was Mexicans, it was
It was the
immigrants, it was the
zombies.
Irish, it was the French, it was everything. There's the one character, Herbert Moon, who runs the store in Armadillo, goes on
Oh, that guy, yeah.
hating everybody, and then us just in the best case of comeuppance I've seen in the media in a long time, he just gets absolutely mauled by the undead not that long after.
Wow.
It's like the best thing
Yeah.
ever, and John just lets it happen, which is like,
Wow.
good on you, son, you know.
Yeah, Herbert Moon was kind of freaky. Also, with What in 2, we were introduced to him apparently having ties to the Strange Man, and
He has a picture of him. He talks about
that'll be something for a later episode. Other than that, I think we've had a pretty good take. So, unless there's anything we've missed, why don't we slowly wrap this up?
Yeah, no, I think we've
Yeah.
a good little look back on. I think it was probably the game I would say that got me into Rockstar.
Yeah, for me it was GTA 4, and then like when I
played
got
GTA 4, I just never.
I got into that, you know, and I started getting familiar with other like Rockstar titles. I actually originally got this game for Christmas 2013. I think I played like the first 2 missions, but you know, it was at that time like the only thing I wanted to play was GTA 5 and online. So, like, I played the first like 2 missions, and then it was like half a year before I decided to even put it in the console again. But once I did there, everything having slowed down a bit, I was just in for one hell of a ride. Falling in love with the game. So yeah. All right. If that's everything, then thanks everyone for listening to this episode of Rockstars on the Road. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay up to date on everything happening here on GTABase and all things Rockstar. Links to everybody's social media are down below. And finally, make sure to subscribe and keep an eye out for more episodes coming soon. Once again, thanks for tuning in. And I hope to see all of you for future episodes. Until those come out, stay safe and keep the community awesome. And thanks to my guest for joining me. I hope you had a fun time.
That was grand.
We'll have to do it again. And that sums up this episode. Stay safe and active, everyone. See you later, Rockstars. Keep on rocking.